The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah, good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Friday, December 20th. And today is Go Caroling Day, you guys. Dr. Mark, do you go caroling out there in the snow?
I don't go caroling in the snow, but I do sit around with my family around a Christmas tree and play Christmas carols and sing songs. So I bet I stay in the warmth of my house when I do that.
Fair enough. I bet you being a chemist and whatnot make an amazing hot chocolate.
Yeah, actually, I like my hot chocolate not medicated, but I like to be puffing on a big old fatty as I choke it down.
I heard the hell out of that. And let's see, it's also National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day, National Sangria Day. I guess that must be because it was Jenny's birthday yesterday. That's probably why that's National Sangria Day today. It's also National Mud Day. I had to learn about this one. This one was super interesting. This had to do with this crazy guy that was involved during the Civil War time. He was a wacko. I don't understand why we really even have he's kind of like a turncoat. And of course, it's also National Underdog Day today, you guys. So shout out to the underdogs out there.
It's my favorite day.
Yeah, right? I heard the hell out of that. All right. And well, yes, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to all of you for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. And we are going to kick it off with, that's right, Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He is the man, the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where everyone should be getting all of their doctor recommendations from. And we have a possible new promotion coming up in the new year, Dr. T, that I need to talk with you about. So remind me to talk with you about that later on. But nonetheless, it's all about making sure that people have their access to their medicine, and that's what Medican and Dr. Talleyrand specialize in. That's right, it is none other than the man himself, Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
You're right, Jason, exactly right. Access to their medicine, that's the goal. Happy Friday, everyone. All right, so my story today is a press release from Cannabis Business Times. Does medical cannabis have physical and mental health risks? Rutgers Health kicks off a study by Tony Lang. With medical cannabis use becoming widely accepted, Rutgers Health researchers are studying its potential physical and mental health effects on patients. The goal of the 5-year study, which is funded with a $686,376 grant from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, is to study the potential therapeutic benefits of medical cannabis, as well as its side effects and possible harms to health. researchers will examine the risk for cannabis use disorder, or CUD, a complex condition involving a problematic pattern of cannabis. Previous research indicates that after using medical cannabis for 3 months, nearly 20% of people will develop CUD, including increased tolerance and dependence. There's been a rapid expansion of medical cannabis use, but we lack clarity related to potential risks, said Tammy Chung, a project's lead researcher and psychiatry professor within the Rutgers Institute for Mental Health, Healthcare Policy, and Aging Research. For example, should our criteria for assessing cannabis use disorder be the same for therapeutic and recreational users? And what type of guidelines should we apply for individuals using cannabis both recreationally and for therapeutic reasons? There are gaps in our knowledge, and the answers are important to informing healthcare decisions. While there are a range of cannabis use disorder symptoms, including paranoia and memory loss, the most immediate concern is steadily escalating tolerance, which can result in rising costs and increased consumption, and with tolerance often comes dependence. It's important to note that not all patients using medical cannabis develop CUD, Chung said, but some do, and right now we can't be sure who's at risk. To provide the best support, we need to learn more about all relevant factors. The more we understand, the more effective our counseling resources can be. Participants in the Rutgers Health Study must meet New Jersey's qualifications for legal cannabis use and have a valid New Jersey medical cannabis program card authorizing therapeutic use. So clearly I have a few problems with the proposed study. Although at first it mentions studying health benefits, there's only discussion of cannabis use disorder. Not all studies are equally important, and it's my opinion that this study is a waste of $500,000. Professor Chung indicates that escalating tolerance and costs are the most immediate concerns with cannabis use disorder. I have never heard of a medical or psychiatric disorder where rising cost is a symptom. Does it mean that those who grow cannabis in their backyard are not susceptible to cannabis use disorder? Tolerance is not a problem unless it leads to dependence. Dependence is not a problem unless it leads to harm. Tolerance is a normal biological process. Tolerance becomes a problem with alcohol abuse, where it leads to severe withdrawal symptoms like seizures and death. Cannabis use usually escalates in the first 5 years, then levels off in the next 5 years, and then starts to decrease afterwards without problems. I suspect the prevalence of cannabis use disorder is much lower than 20%. If harm is truly an indication, it's likely less than 1%. The consequences of cannabis use disorder is not cirrhosis or dementia like it is with alcohol. People who smoke cannabis are not getting lung cancer and emphysema like they do with tobacco. However, searching for problems where there are none seems to be the mission of the National Institute of Drug Abuse. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Interesting. Dr. T, this is a waste of $500,000.
That's what I think.
I personally agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of this whole CHS stuff is a lot of hysteria, so to say, and I think a lot of it could also be a lot of different misdiagnoses as well. But a lot of doctors want to look for that scapegoat as far as cannabis to say, oh no, it's CHS, da 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 da. And I'm not. I do believe that CHS does exist, so I don't want people to think that I'm a CHS denier.
Oh, wait,
but
you mean CUD?
CUD. He was
No, but it's all the same thing. Cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Is CUD. It's all the same thing. CUD, CHS is all the same thing. Is there a difference?
It's a different billing number.
Really?
When we charge for visits. That's
They're not the same thing, Jason. That's not right.
Interesting.
Yeah, Jason, cannabis use disorder is like addiction to cannabis, where there's some problem that they're trying to associate with how much you use cannabis. CHS is hyperemesis, which is the stomach problem where people can't, if they smoke weed, they literally have nausea and problems that they can't even smoke it.
But
Totally
hold on.
different
Well,
things.
cannabis use disorder. How is cannabis addictive if there's no addictive properties in cannabis?
Well, I was going to ask Dr. Jean that because
Like oral
they're
fixation,
mentioning
I
a
could
CUD,
see.
and isn't CUD like BS? But that's my opinion from what I've read. But you're the one to speak
He's
to
shaking
it,
his
Dr.
head.
Jean.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. T. You're on mute. You just muted yourself, Dr. T. You just muted yourself.
Yep, you were
there
good.
we go. There we go.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, let's look at the system first. The ICD-10 diagnostic, which is there are thousands and tens of thousands of diagnoses that you can have. It's built for billing. So I wasn't kidding. This is really about how to charge for a visit. So there are thousands of diagnoses that you can call into question anyway. Cannabis use disorder is meant to be a diagnosis where someone is using cannabis despite the fact that it's causing harm to them. And I think harm is identified in very strange ways with cannabis use disorder. It tells you that it's harm if you gain tolerance, which is a normal biological process. Even if there's no harm to you in gaining tolerance, they consider it a problem. And so they'll diagnose you with cannabis use disorder. So it's really a perspective thing. A lot of people are tolerant to cannabis. And it hasn't been a problem for them. But if those people are misdiagnosed as cannabis use disorder, which is likely the way they describe the criteria for cannabis use disorder, then you get elevated numbers. And then with elevated numbers, you get the National Institute of Drug Abuse to give you money for a study. So yeah, they're chasing ghosts. They're chasing ghosts. They're not there. But she's got her salary for the year, so she's
right. She's got her rent paid. That's for sure, Dr. T.
I thought CUD. I thought cud was what came out of a cow's stomach.
That's what they chew.
I thought you were gonna say you thought it was like some
Goes into the cow's stomach, bro.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say it's like some new dance trending on TikTok or something, Rico.
I'm not on TikTok, man.
You cut a rug. You know what I'm saying?
Is that that jive slang that you?
Interesting. Well, the government does love to waste money, and I mean, it's only $500,000, I guess. At the end of the day, it's not like it was like $20 million or $40 billion that they're wasting.
Well, I think they could use that $500,000 for so much more. I mean, we could learn more about cannabis and how it's benefiting people.
I agree.
It seems to be benefiting people, and they're choosing it. And so this negative perspective is just, makes me sick.
They should be spending that money on nicotine use disorder, on alcohol use disorder, on opiate use disorder, right? There's lots of disorders that they could be spending that money on, but they're spending it on something called cannabis use disorder.
And so if I understood what you said, Dr. Jean, is that it's like a meta thing. They're saying, well, if you use it, then you'll get a tolerance, and then you'll need to use it more for the same effects, and that itself is the distorder.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just mean it works?
Sort of a cyclical definition.
I mean, my tolerance is amazing. Like, truly.
We've got a bunch of people in this country with food use disorder.
Oh, that's.
They need to get their house in order. How about that?
Yeah, that's right.
Man. Speaking of getting our house in order, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back, you guys. Pinot. And we're back, you guys. We're back early. Sorry about that. I hit the button early. Oh well. Oh well, Rico. That's just going to help with our time factor today.
Give Jason back a button, he's sure to push it.
That's right. I specialize in pushing buttons all day, every day, Rico. It's the name of the game.
Oh my God! Habitual line stepper, habitual button pusher. You want to go next? Who we got? I was late today, so I'm at the mercy of the show.
You're at the mercy of the show. Well, I have kind of a longer story, and it's from Hawaiʻi. Hawaiʻi sent this in to us. Hawaiʻi Sustainable. So I can read it. It's a little bit longer. I can go at the end of the show too. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, Rico. Whoever you want to introduce, you get the wild card. You got you doing the black Tim Pool impersonation today. So you know what I'm saying. Rock it.
Who is this Tim Pool you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. With the hat, you do look like the Tim Pool with the hat on. That's good. Good call, Jason.
Well, first of all, you guys are telling me this is a white man, so thanks for saying I look like a white man.
It's just the hat. He did say black.
I said the black Tim Pool, bro. What do you mean? Why? Stop it.
You're black Tim Pool.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly, bro.
If he's not black, then there is no black Tim Pool. He's just Tim Pool. And I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street.
That's just poolish, bro. That's just poolish, Rico.
It sounds foolish, not poolish. So, all right, you want me to just go? I'll just go with my story.
All right, this is the dope dad himself, the man with a plan. That's right. He was out chauffeuring me around through Orange County to make sure we made Jenny Beth's birthday last night. So thank you very much for that, Rico. And he was probably a little bit tired too, because you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he had to drive all the way down here to Orange County and all the way back to LA, unfortunately, with all the potholes and everything else. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Oh, man, appreciate you, Jason, and happy birthday again to Jenny Beth Ills. It was a great time last night out in Orange County. I got to say, man, like, it was only 32 minutes to get home, man. 32 minutes. Like,
that's how it is out here, bro. We live in these fast streets, you know what I'm saying, where the roads are paved.
We get back to those early days of the pandemic where that was every day.
Oh, it'd be so great. Don't worry, Gavin's trying to start a new one, so don't worry. It's coming.
Anyways, let's talk about Europe. Speaking of Gavin Newsom. Europe took massive steps forward this year into the world cannabis market as global trade continues to march forward into less prohibited and more compassionate environment. The business of cannabis's Ben Stevens and Sarah Sinclair did a deep dive into what they believe is coming next in their two-part series, What's in Store for the European Cannabis Industry in 2025. It's a pretty long and deep yet rewarding read. So I summarized it, both of them, into the main points here. So part one is more of an analysis of what happened in 2024. It touched lightly on how it will roll into the future. The key highlights were, number one, global trends and challenges. The cannabis industry faces both progress and setbacks influenced by political shifts following widespread national elections. Industry leaders emphasize the need for sustainable frameworks balancing accessibility, quality, and regulation. A pivotal focus for 2025 will be integrating cannabis into global healthcare systems and leveraging automation in operations and decision-making. Number two, Germany's momentum will expand. Germany's semi-legalization of adult use cannabis market, it marked a paradigm shift, including decriminalization and pilot projects for recreational use. The removal of cannabis from the narcotics list fueled the medical cannabis market's growth, streamlining patient access and insurance reimbursements. However, concerns about potential policy rollbacks with upcoming elections and the need to combat the illegal market persist. Insights from pilot programs. Pilot projects in Germany and Switzerland offered critical insights into consumer behavior and regulatory needs, paving the way for broader legalization. Collaboration among stakeholders is seen as vital for driving innovation. Innovation and achieving policy success. Number four, outlooks and risks. Experts predict continued expansion and consolidation in the medical cannabis market, and industry leaders caution against reverting to prohibition-era policies and emphasize the importance of legal compliance and support for cultivation associations. The report underscored optimism for the industry's trajectory, highlighting opportunities for growth and integration into healthcare despite ongoing challenges. So part two dove right into what they expect to happen immediately as we head into 2025. The first theme that they covered there was expanding medical cannabis demand. Germany, Ukraine, Denmark, Czech Republic, and France and Spain are seen as the biggest positive points of medical cannabis for 2025. Germany regulatory changes have fueled medical cannabis demand, influencing neighboring markets. Ukraine, the country has developed regulatory framework, and the first medical cannabis products are expected in 2025, attracting interest from international producers. Denmark plans to make its medical cannabis pilot program permanent. Czech Republic, expansion of prescribing rights of to 5,000 additional GPs by April 2025. France and Spain, wider regulatory frameworks have stalled. International collaboration and compliance. So, Jenny Beth, I want to hear you on this one. So, producers, including those from Thailand, are scaling up to meet European standards, emphasizing the importance of regulatory compliance. UK focus on quality assurance. So, concerns over contamination in non-irradiated products have led to a focus on quality and building patient trust. This could be a major initiative for them starting in Q1. E-prescribing, or online, introduced in 2024. Whatever happened to teledoc? Is people still doing like ZocDoc and stuff like that? Anyways, e-prescribing introduced in 2024 is expected to streamline across to medical cannabis and encourage broader adoption. Regulatory tightening by the MHRA is anticipated, particularly around product verification. A big one here, emerging product trends. A shift from flower to extracts, edibles, and personal medicines is expected. Luxembourg plans to phase out high THC flower in favor of oils. What you think about that, Jason Beck? Innovations like custom mixed extracts and concentrations in alternative consumption forms are gaining a lot of traction there. And finally, innovation in manufacturing. Increased adoption of automation and in-house solutions for greater efficiency and flexibility is top of mind. Demand is growing for advanced equipment like cryopasteurization. I have no idea what that is. Y'all gonna have to help me with that. And pathogen detection systems. Small batch craft style cannabis is creating a niche market, requiring precision tailored production methods. I don't know if automation is going to really help with the craft cannabis there, but maybe their craft cannabis is going to be different than ours. I don't know. But the article closed out by saying the industry in Europe is poised for continued innovation, collaboration, expansion with opportunities in established and emerging markets. It's full steam ahead. Personally, I'm very bullish on the European market and believe that the fact European countries who've already taken steps toward decriminalizing and legalizing have far less political hurdles to clear than we do here in America, which means much more logical approach will be taken when applying rules and regulations going forward. It's not to say that they will not have their own hiccups. The Russia-Ukraine war is still going on. Plenty of far-right and conservative factions are pushing back on legalization efforts in key markets like Germany. Those could be big detractors as well. But all in all, I think that we will be seeing things go a lot smoother than we've seen here stateside. And I believe that a ton of opportunity will be had for folks looking to transact in European nations, more interested in taking a more logical, scientific approach that treats cannabis like medicine first. Novel idea there. And I think that it is a pretty exciting time for those looking to engage with the European market. Those are just my thoughts. I want to hear from the rest of you guys. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Europe 2025. Why or why not?
Man. I mean, Europe is definitely a very, very, very promising market. And I would love to get some euros for some trees. You know what I'm saying? The only thing better than euros is some pounds, you know what I mean?
What you got against the dollar, Jason? I thought you were,
Oh, I'm a big fan of the dollar. Don't get it wrong. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just, speaking of value add, and euro happens to be worth just a little bit more than the dollar. And the pound happens to be worth just a little bit more than the euro.
How about Dr. T, Dr. Mark? Are you guys excited about Europe, the opportunities out there? They seem to be taking a much more scientific and medical based approach.
Yeah, I've always liked Germany's approach. They actually use the correct way to classify cannabis. They use type 1, type 2, type 3. I'm really curious about Spain, though. I thought Spain was the leader in research, and it seems like they're taking some step backs, and I wonder why.
Yeah, they had no mention of them in the article as any positives into 2025, really. They're like, they're just kind of...
Well, I mean, because Spain is kind of like the trap market out there in Europe right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, their consumption lounges aren't really necessarily regulated like that, and you know what I mean. Like not like how Germany has with their pharmacies and whatnot. You know what I'm saying, with certain types of products only being able to be offered and whatnot. You know, it's kind of more like the free for all in Spain.
Got it.
Jenny, you have some extensive experience out there in Europe.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this, Jenny Beth? Why are you being so quiet? You can't got your tongue.
The compliance over there. Yeah, no, you got your eyes open over there, Jenny Beth?
Yeah, what's going on?
Freaking barely, dude. Y'all were there. So yeah, I think the focus on compliance is largely because a lot of the European market is focused on export. So to be able to pass those export standards, you're going to have very strict manufacturing practices, very strict transport practices, very strict chain of custody. So I think that's a large focus on the compliance side there. Germany's an interesting market. I hope to God there is a faction there that's trying to push just medical and keep it a gross level of very pharmaceutical, very stale, very non-cannabis industry feeling medicinal. Almost very Kevin Sabetish, right? Like take the little blue pill or the little red pill or go fuck yourself. So I think that I'd like to see how things transpired. Spain, I think a large portion of why they're frustrated is us, right? Every year in March, we go out there and act like big old assholes, and they are just absolutely over it. So I think that where there was a lot of research coming out, they're like, oh, is this really medical? Are you guys really something we should be pouring this money and this time and this energy into? Or is this just a party where all you Americans can come out here and sell your trap?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to be very cognizant, especially as people who are supposed to be figureheads or whatever you think you might be in the industry, of how you look representing the American market when you're overseas.
I thought we classified them as international trap stars, Jenny Beth.
I mean, I don't know that I call them trap stars.
Okay, fair enough.
Fugazis.
Hey, in 2025, we're gonna soften the image, man. The trap artists. How about that?
Oh God, might as well just call them trapezius.
Trapeze. I speak Trapanese.
I bet. All right. We're gonna keep this train. We're gonna keep this train rolling, Rico. Do you want to do someone else, or you want me to go?
I can do it. What you need? Who we got? All right. So you want to go next, Dr. T?
Dr. T already went, bro. You're late to the game on that one. Dr. T, you know what I'm saying? Dr. T kicks it off. You know what I'm saying? If you're late on a Friday, Dr. T's kicking it off. You know what I mean?
I can dig it. So up next, we got the man with the plan out there in Orange County, where they. I was afraid to go 1 mile above the speed limit because the roads was too nice and I didn't see nobody look like me until I sat down at the table. We had a very diverse group last night. Very diverse, wasn't it? I think we had every black person in Orange County in one place last night.
Stop it, bro. Stop it,
I almost
Kat.
made that fucking comment, but no, there were a few more. So there are a couple more.
And I was me and I forget what. Yeah, me and JC had a joke nobody else got. I'll break that down with you like later on. I don't think it's like very safe to say that on the show. I don't want to offend people. But either way,
be offended.
Either way, he is.
I'm offended. You don't want to share it with us. How about that?
He is.
Into the DEI chat for the show.
It had something to do with the place where everybody else was going. The name of the place everybody else was going afterwards. Nobody else got the joke except for me and somebody else. That being said, Orange County's very own trap star extraordinaire himself. Believe it or not, the man has a shrine to the Gipper in his studio. I was able to see it live and direct tomorrow. And I have to say, it is true. Jason Beck is a true Republican. He is a true conservative. And I was able to see everything live with my own eyes yesterday. He's very.
Did you see Trumpy Bear?
He did. Yeah, he did. He did.
He saw a lot of things I can't unsee. But anyways, Jason Beck, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much, Rico. Yeah, you got to see Trumpy Bear. He also got to see my hat for the Christmas show, you guys. For the Christmas show, he got to see what that is. So we got a sneak peek at that. And
I can't believe you didn't bring mine last night.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Well, this is kind of a longer article, Jenny Beth, so hold tight. And shout out to Hawaiʻi Sustainable, always with us over here in the YouTube audience. They sent in this article, so thank you to them for helping us find good information out there. Because Hawaii hemp growers say new state rules will put them out of business, you guys. That's right. Governor Josh Green's approval of new regulations for CBD products, touted as a win for locally grown hemp, actually represents a major setback for the industry, local hemp farmers and CBD processors say, you guys. The new regulations limit the allowable level of Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, the main psychoactive component of cannabis known as THC, in locally produced hemp products like gummies, drinks, tinctures, and oils. Those products are marketed for the benefits of a second non-intoxicating compound called cannabidiol, known as CBD, which is used to reduce inflammation and relieve pain, stress, insomnia, among other things. Federal regulators define hemp as containing 0.3 THC or less, with greater concentrations defined as marijuana. States have varying allowances on THC content in hemp-derived CBD products, such as Hawaii's new regulations, which include some restrictions thousands of times lower than the federal limits. For CBD beverages in Hawaii under the new Department of Health rules signed in November, that means that, get ready for this, bro, there's a lot of zeros, okay? So get your calculators out. 0.00028% THC, you guys. Exactly right, Jenny. It's like minute. It's like, how do you even measure that? Hemp advocates say the new product specifications rid local hemp products of their novelty, require machinery local operators can't afford, and will create an unfair playing field for Hawaii products competing with mainland products, you guys. The DOH is trying to keep THC containing products from Hawaii's youth. It's always about save the children, but says it lacks authority to restrict the purchase of CBD products to adults. As a result, it appears regulators are more broadly trying to ensure no one can get high off of CBD, you guys. Hawaii is one of the few left-leaning states that haven't legalized adult-use marijuana, as 24 other states have, despite establishing a medical marijuana program in the early 2000s. Concerns about the hemp regulations are the latest issue in a battle over state oversight dating back to 1999, when Hawaii became the first state to legalize the cultivation of hemp since a national prohibition in 1937. Now, 25 years later, a government-formed Hemp Hawaii task force has published its first report. It cites the need for more stable regulatory environment for a crop with 52,000 end uses, including food, fiber, building materials, textiles, paper, animal feed, cannabinoids, and importantly, a renewable source of fuel, you guys. That report is expected to affect bills in the coming legislative session aiming to make Hawaii more hemp-friendly, something CBD business owners like Jared Dagomoluni of Rare Cannabinoid Co. support. Dagomoluni pulled his business out of Hawaii in 2019, 2 years after starting with hopes of using entirely local hemp. Regulation changes that year, which required more specific and expensive processing facilities, prompted him to use mainland processing facilities, and building such a facility in Hawaii was too expensive, he said, a factor that also led to an exodus of other CBD businesses. The latest state regulations allow local CBD processors to make gummies and beverages for the first time, but the restrictions, which are also imposed on oils and tinctures, make them economically unfeasible, you guys. Hawaii Hemp Farmers Association President Gail Barber says that Dugomani has continued to use Maui-grown hemp for a line of his products, Hawaiian Choice CBD. But the new ham-handed, out-of-touch, and ultra-draconian rules will stop that, he said. The limit will be 5 gummies per package with 1 milligram of THC per gummy, compared to the 30 packs that people can still easily acquire in Hawaii from mainland companies. Though they're not technically legal, beverages cannot have more than 0.5 milligrams of THC per container. The most alarming restriction is the volume of THC allowed in tinctures, liquid extracts, which may as well be a zero, Brian Barber said. And the federal designated demarcation between hemp and marijuana is the 0.3%, which was set because anything less than that is unlikely to generate a psychoactive effect for CBD users. Brian Barber grows hemp and produces her own tinctures that have helped prop up her farm and its production of food crops. And in a quote, Hawaiʻi farmers have some of the highest costs of production in the world, and what the consumers are willing to pay for food doesn't cover costs. The Hemp Task Force report states that hemp products, especially cannabinoid products that can be processed and manufactured on farm in boutique quantities, can be processed and in quantities offer the margins farmers need, especially small farmers that comprise nearly 70% of Hawaiʻi farms. Hawaiʻi doesn't have a processor that could rid products of all of their THC either, and Brian Barber said sending hemp to the mainland is expensive and the trip is too lengthy for the health of the plants, you guys. Judith Roberts of Kauai Hemp Co. runs the largest CBD processing facility in the state and says it would be economically impossible to make any of the CBD products under the new regulations. Hawaii has 4 state-accredited processing facilities. Removing almost all THC from CBD products strips them of other desirable properties unique to locally grown hemp, known as full-spectrum products, Dr. T, which they say can help boost energy, relax muscles, aid sleep, or focus and suppress appetites. The quantities selectively bred by local farmers aren't what make Hawaii CBD products competitive, Brian Barber said, and the Department of Health declined a request for an interview. But in an email statement, DOH informed specialist Kristen Wong said the rules aim to balance the industry's requests with the agency's community health mandate, particularly protecting children. The DOH altered rules in response to the industry too, allowing for traces of THC in beverages, Wong said. And Dalgamani said that if the new rules stand, I suspect you will find that 95% of hemp farmers will quit next year. And by year end, there will be no hemp farm sector in Hawaii, they say. The DOH has said that the new rules also apply to mainland operations, but local industry representatives are skeptical that the agency would be able to enforce any of its rules on the rollout of state operations. And if you wanted, and in a quote, if you wanted to buy it online, you could just do it today, McRoberts said. There's no restrictions on them or regulation. It kind of puts us in a bind. Speaking of which, you can go to www.paradygummy.com to get yours today, and we will ship to Hawaii, no problem. Dalgamani's forecast for the hemp industry flies in the face of State Representative Dee Morioka intentions for the crop, and her successful 2023 legislation aimed to remove what Morioka called stringent regulations, you guys. Morioka last year said the industry had huge potential after the signing of the Act 263, a bill that also included the formation of the task force to identify the best way to help the industry thrive. Mick Roberts was buoyed by last year's bill and was on the task force, but now feels deflated by the new regulations, you guys. The processor is unlikely to make it work and is considering transitioning away from hemp products altogether. That could mean marijuana instead if the state legalizes adult use marijuana. In a quote, they say, if they do legalize adult use, probably that, he said, I just don't see how anyone is going to be able to continue to compete. Wong said in her email to the DOH that they thoroughly reviewed the task force's final report, which said the proposed new THC restrictions would be unrealistic and ultra low. And in an additional quote, it's a little disappointing to go through that whole process and have the door slammed on you, McRoberts of Kauai Hemp Co. said. According to the report, people purchased $54 million worth of CBD products in Hawaii in 2020 alone, and it would not require much effort for the local farmers and processors to capture 25% of that market, the report said. Hawaii harvested about 14,000 pounds of industrial hemp in 2021, with almost 2 million, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. But Hawaii has so few licensed hemp operations that the USDA withholds its data data to protect those businesses, you guys. Interesting. In a quote, I guess there were about 60 very engaged farmers and people a couple years ago, Brian said. But my guess is that we have a couple of dozen at the max, and that arbitration I put squarely at the feet of regulation was probably well intended, but kept Hawaiʻi on the sidelines, they say. The key to reviving the industry, according to the task force report released in August, is recognizing that the regulatory landscape needs to remain consistent and provide farmers and processors some stability. And the growers and processors acknowledge that hemp-derived substances like Delta 8 or Delta 9, which have psychoactive effects, are a public health concern, you guys. The industry would rather see CBD sales restricted to adults 21 or older while maintaining higher THC thresholds in accordance with the federal limits of the 0.3 THC. And in a quote, "We're trying to be reasonable," Dagamani said. "We don't want to sell to 12-year-olds. The DOH said it agrees imposing an age limit is a good idea, but it lacks the power to impose or police restrictions." Finally, someone's honest that they lack the power to impose restrictions and whatnot, but whatever. Without legislative action, age gating cannot be included in this amendment rules, Wong said, and the DOH has proposed an age gating measure for inclusion in the governor's legislature package and strongly supports a legislative solution. And the task force has 20 priorities for the next legislative session, which begins on January 15th, covering proposed legislation to help all sectors of the hemp industry. But for CBD processors, there are 4 key priorities, all of which relate to the Department of Health regulations. They include letting producers include THC in tinctures according to federal 0.3 THC limits, upping allowable THC concentration in edibles and beverages to 2.5 milligrams, and allowing 30 packs of gummies, and imposing an age restriction. In a quote, "By all means, let's prepare all the bills and get them going," Senator Tim Richards, deputy chair of the Senate Agriculture and Environment Committee, said. He also says that the Big Island lawmaker, who is a rancher and a veterinarian, said there has been give and take on both sides, but now the DOH rules are a bit extreme. I'm not your brother's keeper, but I do think we need some guardrails," Richard said. "I understand what both sides are saying, and I think there's a compromise both can live with." Well, Hawaii is about to become, another state that's trying to impose these regulations with some unrealistic regulations that they're trying to impose, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Dr. T shaking his head.
As my man Troy would say, open the damn market up.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawaii is taking steps backwards repeatedly, and they're cutting their nose to spite their face. And if you just want industrial hemp, fucking say that. This is getting ridiculous. They're trying to take the ability to play in the licensed market away from the native Hawaiian people. They're trying to bring in mainlanders who are obviously paying somebody a lot of money to shut this market down for the people of Hawaii, and it's just gross. I'm very disappointed to see what's going on there.
You think it's Oprah?
Jason, I'm not going here with you.
I'm just asking.
The stream has ended.
No, that's just on your thing, Dr. Mark. That's just.
Sorry.
Yeah. Your thing. It's crashing. It's because of the new Apple update. It's not working well or something. But the stream is still live.
It's just really this fascination with THC and it causing harm. Is just a really interesting problem, from an anthropological or sociocultural. Why do we have such a problem with the THC high when we're not seeing health deteriorate with the THC high? So there's this big assumption that THC equals harm. And I really, as a researcher, we're investigating in an initiative called the Cannabis Mind, trying to describe what is high, what does that mean? Because I think different people mean different things when they say, I got high. But is it causing harm is the other question. I think there's a big assumption that it is. And I think it's still very much debatable.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dr. T, and I'm all for age gating these products. I think, 21 and over or 18 and over is a fair age, depending on what a state wants to do in regards to that. But all this nonsense about save the children all the time is just really getting old, and it's not really a realistic thing. What they need to be promoting is parents be parents and keep the stuff out of your kids' hands.
That's it.
Maybe they should be putting money into parenting classes for all of these parents, and maybe they should start like a little thing of teaching parents how to keep things out of children's reach.
And the reality is,
children are tall, though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh God, Rico. Go ahead, Dr. T.
yeah, prohibition is just really not the way. Kids are not wanting to use these products. In general, we're seeing a decrease in cannabis use in that age. So, let's attack the problems where they are.
Yeah. I feel you. You have any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
Well, Hawaii imports a lot of stuff from the mainland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even if they try to snuff this out in Hawaii, isn't just shit just going to come in from the mainland?
I mean, in all fairness, I Parody Gummy got an order the other day from someone in Hawaii, and that's already been shipped and delivered to them, and it's already, they're already getting it to enjoy it right now. So yeah, 100%.
And not to burst Hawaii's bubble, but all those legendary strains that supposedly came from the island,
All that Acapulco Gold,
from NorCal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What about that Pakalolo?
Shout out to the Pakalolo Sea Boys, my guy. Shout out to Micah. Shout out to all of them. They are great, and they're doing some great work in Molokai. So shout out to all the Pakalolo.
I feel like someone in Hawaii needs to come out with a line called Tupakalolo and have a picture of Tupac like sipping a Mai Tai or a cannabis infused beverage on the beach somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Can I tell you
about
that's
that?
not a terrible idea, because Tupac alleges to be from California, which he is not, but all right. But Pakalolo.
He was born in New York. He was born in New York. That is a fair statement.
He never said that though.
Bro, he does. He talks about when his mom talks about giving birth to him in jail.
He represented Oakland. He said to live and die in L.A. He represented Oakland, but he's like Baltimore and New York are his roots. He always talked about
that.
Yeah, he did.
Pakalolo would work because Pakalolo Seeds is actually affiliates with the county.
I think Tupakalolo would be a fucking amazing brand.
Hey, pop that in Mid-Journey, and you can create a label, and that's the next parody gummy, huh? How about that?
It just might be, bro. It just might be. You never know.
And just for those who don't know, Pakalolo is the slang for cannabis in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. T.
Yep.
Thank you.
It is. That it is.
Education.
I love it. I love the education. Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love it very much. And speaking of parody gummy, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back. Are you all ready for America's new #1 D9 gummy line? That's right. We are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're going to be clean and safe, and they're not going to give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today.
Simon says. Simon says we're back. And make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And we do want to remind everyone to please share this show. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and we are desperately trying to grow our X channel as well. So if you are joining us on X, make sure that you're sharing the show
show. We want to make sure that we keep getting a large amount of views on that platform as well, and really make sure that we are bringing this show all to the masses. So thank you all so much. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. All right, and we're back, Rico.
All right, y'all, get your blue books ready, because this highly recognized New England-based organic chemistry expert always brings a little functional Friday heat when he's on the mic. Make sure y'all are ready for a little bit of education, because the professor is in the building, Dr. Mark Scialdone. How's it doing out there in New England, Dr. Mark? Y'all got real winter? Got real winter yet?
Let's see. There's a little bit of snow flurries going on. Looks like it's snowing up in the mountains. There's some nice alpine glow at the top of Mount Mansfield, so it's a great day in Vermont.
Love it.
So happy Friday, everybody. Missed you all last week. Great to be back. Hope you're having a great week, and hope you have great holiday plans coming up here. My story today comes from, let's see, where does it come from? The question comes from the journal Applied Pharmacognosy.org, which is a blog that pharmacologists read. And it has to do with the molecule THCV. So I drew some structures today. Can you guys see these? So THC on top, THCV on the bottom. You can see the difference is in this 3-carbon tail, right? There's a 5-carbon tail here for THC. There's a 3-carbon tail for THCV. So it's a slightly different molecule, and it behaves in the body very differently. So the title of the article today, written by my friend Mayavi Shields. I recently met Mayavi at BizCon a couple weeks ago, and traveled all the way back to Vermont with a molecule that she wrote down on a napkin. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't think I can find it, but so Mayavi is a pharmacologist who worked at a very famous cannabinoid research lab at Northeastern University. Mary Canis, and I might be murdering his last name, but he's a very, very well-known pharmacologist in the cannabinoid area. So this article is written by Mayavi, my friend. Okay, so awkward family holidays, question mark. Can your high just be gone, question mark. THCV and the CB1 receptor. So THCV is almost identical to the THC structure, but has very different effects profile. Instead of activating the CB1 receptor, THCV sits in the receptor, so it binds to the receptor, but it blocks it from becoming active, which is what we call an antagonist. So CB1 is agonized by THCV, but it's antagonized by THCV. So the way you think of that is, if the receptor is the lock and the molecule is the key fits in the lock. If it opens the lock, that's agonizing the receptor. That's what THC does. THCV antagonizes the receptor, which basically turns it off. So the results in the reduction of CB1 receptor activity There's early evidence that THCV can reduce the effects of negative effects of THC. And you could read more down here to help us understand why. So she's got pictures here of the THC molecule docked into the receptor as well as THCV. So the difference between the structure is, again, only this minor change in the size of the carbon tail. So the overall topology of the molecules are very similar to one another. So they have very similar properties. Because of that shortened carbon tail, it no longer turns on the receptor. It basically turns it off. Worried you'll be uncomfortable around your family? Especially after you take the special after-dinner walk. You know, that after-dinner walk when you're in a straight household and you kind of give your family members who are all weed smokers the high sign. It's time to take a walk. Well, that walk can come back. You could be super high and with bloodshot eyes and definitely give yourself away, or you could use THCV, and that might be the answer, again, because you're not going to get stoned off THCV. So the world of cannabis is filled with a variety of compounds called cannabinoids. Well, they come from the cannabis plant. They're called phytocannabinoids, each with its own effect. While THC and CBD are the most well-known, there is a growing interest in what we call the minor cannabinoids. I don't call them minor because minor seems to think like they're the minor leagues, that they're not as important as the major cannabinoids. So I just call them the other cannabinoids, maybe lesser known cannabinoids than THC and CBD. So there's things like THCV, there's things like the CBD version with the 3-carbon tail is called CBDV. And there's obviously other cannabinoids of other different carbon lengths like THCP and CBDP and THCH and all this other alphabet soup of cannabinoids. But we're just going to focus on THCV today. So unlike THC, which activates the CB1 receptor, like we said, which can lead to its psychoactivity, a THCV is a neutral agonist at the CB1 receptor. And this means that THCV blocks the binding of THC. So think about it. You've already put THCV in the receptor. Now THC can't displace it. You already have a key in the lock. And guess what? That key doesn't work in the lock, but it sticks in the lock, right? So think of it like that. So this means that THC blocks the binding of THC to the receptor. This can reduce the level of activation of the CB1, reducing the intensity of the high that's associated with cannabis. Research suggests that this unique interaction with CB1 receptor may make THCV a promising candidate for addressing issues related to overconsumption of cannabis. We were talking earlier about cannabis use disorder. Well, maybe THCV plays a role in that. Some individuals find that consuming too much cannabis leads to unpleasant experiences, anxiety, paranoia, heart palpitations, induced hypothermia. You know, let's face it, if you're stoned out all the time, you can't always motivate for all the things that you need to do in the world in your life. So products containing THCV are being developed to mitigate these negative effects by counteracting THC's action at the CB1 receptor. Potential benefits of THCV's neutral antagonism of the CB1 receptor go way beyond addressing just the negative experiences that certain people find with THCV or THC getting high, right? So research on THCV suggests that it may have a variety of other therapeutic applications, including as an anti-obesity drug in controlling your appetite and controlling your weight. Maybe that's Jason Beck's secret on why he's maintained such a girlish figure. Maybe he's actually a THCV user.
Yeah.
You know, I love THC and I love the V, Dr. Mark.
I think you love it all, Jason. And that's what we love about you.
Yes, sir.
So it can also help with mood disorders. Preliminary studies indicate that THCV might have mood-boosting properties without the negative side effects associated with some of the other cannabinoids, including THC. It could also help with cognitive function. Some researchers believe that THCV can play a role in enhancing cognitive function and focus, potentially benefiting individuals with related challenges around attention deficit disorder, and whatnot. So while research on THC is still ongoing, its distinctive properties and potential benefits are attracting attention from both the scientific community and the cannabis industry. As we learn more about this intriguing cannabinoid, it is likely to become even more prominent in the future. And I think the other thing that makes this more prominent is that there's now cultivars with higher levels of THCV than we'd seen, previously. Just as little as 10 years ago, you didn't really see THCV in high THC cultivars more than, say, about a 5-to-1 or maybe more like a 10-to-1 ratio. Now you could actually see 2-to-1, where basically for every 2 molecules of THC, there's 1 molecule of THCV. The other thing is, because there's now high varieties that produce CBDV, similar to the way that people are converting CBD into THC, you could convert chemically CBDV into THCV. So now there's a lot of products that contain THCV isolate from this chemical isomerization of CBDV. It's a great cannabinoid, offers a lot of very interesting properties that are different than THC. I'd be interested in what Dr. T has to say. And Dr. T, have you ever prescribed THCV to any patients, and for what medical conditions do you prescribe that for?
I don't really prescribe cannabis. I guide people in their choices and their uses of it. So I give them the choice. I let them drive, and then I'm the backseat driver. But THCV, I have seen. There's a famous, award-winning cultivar here in California, Pink Boost Goddess, that has a higher THCV content. There's also THC in there, and so usually you see people using both at the same time. I know sometimes some people are considering THCV only products. It doesn't happen in nature, so I'm curious what kind of effect it has. But people do enjoy the THCV as it is sort of a competitive inhibitor of THC and strikes a different balance.
Dr. T, did you say this? Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
It's been nicknamed the race car cannabinoid because I guess, again, it just has a lot of different properties, where THC might make you sit down on the couch and want you to listen to jazz. Maybe THCV kind of gets you up and gets you motivated, again, because it's antagonizing the receptor and it's not agonizing. I wanted to show everybody that I found the molecule that Miyabi drew on a napkin at a bar, and it's not a chemistry conference until somebody draws a molecule on the napkin. So I have the napkin. Miyabi, I hope you're watching. I cherish this napkin, and Miyabi and I are going to do some research in the beginning of the next year. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with her.
Amazing.
So Dr. T, one other question. I mean, I've always had this notion about THCV. Because it doesn't get you high, is that the kind of thing that you could use if you're too high to kind of come down? Could it act not as an anecdote or an antidote, but as some type of way of basically taking the edge off of your THC high? So if you were smoking a variety that had both THC and THCV, the fact that THCV can compete with that CB1 binding activity, is it a way to basically maybe dial down the intensity of a THC high?
Well, you're asking a very complicated question because, like I mentioned before, what is high? Let's define that. For some people, it's different than others. Definitely people who seem to be more motivated with the combination of THC and THCV than they do than they do THC alone, and that might be why people feel less high, quote unquote, because they're more motivated. Does it completely block THC? I doubt it. It probably interacts in a way that it's sort of giving a balance of agonists and non-agonists. THC is a partial agonist anyway, right? And so you're adding something that has less agonist activity in with the THC's partial agonist activity.
Right. And we know that CBD doesn't directly act on the CB1 receptor. It might act in an allosteric way. So what about combinations of CBD with THCV?
Well, shout out to those guys at Emerald Spirit Botanicals who produce a 1-to-1 THCV CBDV. I haven't gotten much responses from the use of that one. I've heard more about their Pink Boost Goddess, which is a THCV variety. I don't know whether this is a more desired product and who is using that 1-to-1, that type 2 THCV is what I call it.
What's that middle name of that, Dr. T? Because I keep hearing Pink Booth Goddess.
Pink Boost Goddess.
Pink Boost. Got it. Okay. All right.
Pink Boost Goddess. It's won an award at one of the cups.
Okay. All right. Shout out to that. Shout out to the THCV. You know what I'm saying? Getting people.
And let's say more, because that Pink Boost Goddess also has a Jack Herrera pattern of terpenes, which can be energizing also. And so we need to figure out whether it's the terpinolene in there that's causing it, or the THCV, or what. There's a lot going on. It's complex.
Well, it could be both, and it could be like a supercharger inhibitor.
Yeah. I know some people like it because they say they don't get the munchies as much from that variety. So.
I've heard that from a lot of patients over the years, Dr. T. And I have had patients come up and ask specifically for THCV V products, specifically because they believe that they are appetite suppressant and also a weight loss inhibitor. So
yeah, I think tolerance is the appetite suppressant personally. But that's a long discussion.
I mean, we're going to have to get Kennedy behind this and him back in some THCV. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about that,
guys. I ain't touching it.
All right. All right, you guys, we're going to roll into our next commercial. We're going to be right back. Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right. Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry. Secure up to $2 million today, and make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9. Thank you guys. We are back. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Up next, y'all know who it is. It is the man with red hair only on his face. And he is the 7-time father champion of the world. Coming over here, and you can hit him up for any of your digital marketing needs. And he's helped us immensely since the beginning of our broadcasting journey. It is none other than the conservative constituent himself, Mr. Jesse Barney. Break us off. Happy Friday, my brother.
Happy Friday, Rico. Thank you. It's a great introduction. My story today out of MJ Biz Daily: nearly 70 Michigan marijuana businesses fined for regulatory violations. They need you, Jenny Beth Dills.
Right.
67 licensed marijuana businesses in Michigan were fined for various regulatory violations in November. According to a news release from Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency, the fines ranged from $333.33, that's odd, to $19,000. The highest fine was levied on Blue Fox brands in Lansing for non-compliance with metric, as well as surveillance and security violations. According to the CRA release, other violations among Michigan marijuana operators included annual financial statement non-compliance, failure to report material changes, general operational issues, non-compliant handling and production, non-compliant sales, non-compliant waste disposal, packaging and advertising, sampling, and testing. 8 businesses were cited for regulatory violations in the state's largest city, Detroit, which had more violations than any other municipality. Lansing and Warren were the next with 6 violations apiece. According to Detroit Metro Times, which first reported the fines, the CRA increased its compliance enforcement after Brian Hanna was appointed executive director on a permanent basis in September 2022. Hanna worked for several years with the Michigan State Police in criminal intelligence and was deputy sheriff in Kalamazoo County, Michigan. He also was a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve working in intelligence and civil affairs. That's the end of the story. Kind of an odd place to stop, but apparently this guy, Brian Hanna, is really going after the compliance enforcement in Michigan, and they need people like Jenny Beth Dills to go there and help them immediately. Jenny, you got a lot of work in front of you.
Oh man!
Pay up front though, because I don't trust it anymore.
Baby,
given these violations, they probably won't pay up front.
Baby, it's cold outside up there in Michigan. You know what I'm saying?
Is Brian Hanna any relation to Jack Hanna?
No.
No,
Rico, no. I mean,
you should have gone with Hanna-Barbera or something.
Well, I know the Hanna family.
You didn't pick it up. Nobody picked it up, so I couldn't even finish it. So
you said Jack Hanna, bro. Yeah, sorry.
I know.
It was too far out there.
No, Rico, I know the Hanna family. No, it's not. No.
Oh man.
Actually, I might see them tonight. Actually, possibly.
Oh. Okay. You gonna get you some go to the zoo? You know, you're gonna have some. They're gonna bring over some parrots and stuff. Like, what's going on?
No. But Yogi Bear might be making an appearance too. You never know, Rico. Never.
Some picnic baskets. Okay.
Yeah, I love a good picnic basket. You know what I'm saying?
I fucks with Scrappy.
But this whole thing, it sounds like this guy like they basically let the wolves into the hen's nest by having this former law enforcement be their director of enforcement, Jesse, to just go. It sounds like he's being a little egregious over these businesses, but I don't know. I'm not on the ground in Detroit right now, so.
That's really hard. I mean, if you are a business who's doing your due diligence and doing all of your compliance work, it really sucks to have someone down the street who's not, right? And who's cutting corners, who's potentially saving a lot of money by cutting corners. Mm-hmm. So it's nice on that side. If you're a legal business, you want this guy to go and shake feathers because you want people to be compliant, especially if you are.
I feel you on that. What do you got to say about this, Rico? You like Detroit?
I love the D, man. Mm-hmm. You know, it is so cold in the D, and they need to get their shit together.
and they are eating Ohio's lunch right now in all of these cannabis sales right now. Just eating them up.
We saw that.
That's probably part of it too, right? Because they're getting so much tourism.
Yeah.
So this enforcement's going to come down harder because they're bringing so many people from out of state.
Yeah,
I don't see how that would bring in more enforcement, but I don't know.
You got more traffic. You have more people. You have people driving around with it. You have people coming in and out of the state with it. That could cause problems.
That's more places to hide things, Jesse.
I could see I could see a lot of. Violations by the cops, them just like straight up targeting folks with Ohio State gear on, and pulling them the fuck over and just harassing the shit out of them. I said, stay woke out there, Ohioans.
Stay woke.
Is that what you call them? Ohioans?
Ohioans, yeah. Well, that's funny because you know what I'm saying, they're all getting high out there. Yeah, Ohioans.
There's so many puns, and it's just a shame that they're losing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, of course they're losing, bro. They sell tents. People feel like they're getting shafted every time they make a purchase out there in Ohio. They're like, man, I could have just drove over into Michigan, you know what I'm saying, and got an eighth at a cheaper price.
I told you, man, they're trying to play off the stupidity of America and tell them that a tenth is more than an eighth.
Oh God, I see what you did there. You know what? Man. Oh man. Do you want to introduce Jenny Beth for her birthday? She's 1 year older today, everybody.
Absolutely. She's one day older today, and she is up bright and sunny, full of sunshine today. So happy to see her. It's none other than the woman who woke up, entered the 36th chamber of life.
Yes.
None other than the mind behind kindness.
I see what you did there, Rico. All those quantum chips.
Oh man, parallel universes and everything. You should swap yourself out with the Jenny Beth in a parallel universe and bring the one that's awake so they can read this story right now.
Oh man, that's cute. That's cute. Don't worry.
I'm just messing with you. Happy birthday, Jenny Beth. What you got for us on this beautiful Friday morning?
Burlington's first cannabis dispensary is closing its doors, marking a major shift in Vermont's medical marijuana market. This follows the bankruptcy filing of its parent company, Canada-based Slang Worldwide. Hilarious. Cirrus Collective, which once supplied 70% of Vermont's registered medical marijuana patients, has already shut down its Brattleboro dispensary with closures in South Burlington and Burlington soon to follow. Medical marijuana has been legal in Vermont for 20 years, and James Pepper, chair of Vermont's Cannabis Control Board, emphasizes its importance. The medical patients are really the most vulnerable cannabis consumers, Pepper said. While Vermont's retail cannabis market has grown, medical cannabis offers key benefits like tax-free purchases and personalized formulations. However, experts say the medical market's future is uncertain as recreational cannabis becomes more accessible. Vermont lawmakers recently allowed adult use stores to serve medical patients under specific conditions, which can help fill the gap left by those closures. After these shutdowns, though, only 2 medical dispensaries will remain open in Brandon and Montpelier, with the new one approved in Winooski. The Cannabis Control Board will release its updated rules and regulations for 2025 this Friday. All right, well, it sounds like Slang Worldwide ain't slanging in Vermont anymore because they are fucking bankrupt. I'm going to throw this back to you guys, but once again, another adult use market is pushing out the medicinal side, which is sad. That's what got us here.
Push out. Oh, man. This is a great opportunity for Vermont Alternative in the chat to have a little round up all of these customers and get them all shopping at his store.
Well, okay, just so you know, okay, these are medical facilities, right? There is adult use facilities all over the state and all throughout Burlington. There's plenty of adult use shops. These are just the old medical shops. So Ceres used to be the Champlain Valley Dispensary, owned by a guy named Shane Lynn, who somehow used his influence in Montpelier to basically scoop up a lion's share of the original licenses that were originally doled out. You know, medical cannabis has been here in the 802 for I think about 10 years now. And this guy Shane Lynn somehow scooped up a bunch of the licenses at first. So he wasn't viewed very kindly by, the rest of his competitors because it seemed like he had some kind of unfair advantage to scoop up all those licenses. Well, then he ended up selling his business. And when they formed Ceres, this company that closed, to this company in Toronto, right? He wanted to cash out, right? Like a lot of people do who get in early, they want to cash out, they want a payday. So now this multi-state operator who owns businesses in multiple states and are going bankrupt, they're just a company up in Toronto that owns cannabis facilities down here in Vermont and in other states. And now just because they go bankrupt, that doesn't really mean that Vermont Alternative or the other folks here are going to pick up any of that business. the medical, this has happened in a lot of states, right? How can the medical programs still exist when there's adult use programs? And medical programs typically had different product formats, different potency. We have a stupid potency limit of like 65%, just really fucking dumb, right? I mean, it's just so stupid. The CCB here that runs the program is just a bunch of people who don't really understand the plant. They're just trying to safeguard their nice jobs. And I think part of what you see going on here is probably going to happen in other states where, again, there always seems to be this divide between the medical license shops and the recreational license shops. So I don't think this is an indication that the cannabis market up here in Vermont is going anywhere. It's been around for a long time and ain't going anywhere. I think what this shows is that, yeah, the strategy of some Canadian company coming in and buying a bunch of grows down in the States doesn't work. Look at the balance sheets of these Canadian companies that own the MSOs. Would you invest your money in them? They're all in the red, all of them. There's not one that's operating profitably. And those mom and pop, grows here can operate profitably in a state where, yeah, you have had safeguards in to keep multi-state, companies or operations like this from coming in. But this guy sold out, made a bunch of money. And then I guess because of the terms of the sale didn't go through, there ended up being a lawsuit. So this company was hindered by lawsuits. They were really just generating mids. And I think the last thing that the Vermont smoking population needs is a bunch of mids made by an MSO owned in Canada. Okay?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Dr. Mark. Yeah, because I was reading it and I was like, they filed for bankruptcy. I was like, how the hell did they do that being in Vermont? And come to find out, they're a Canada-owned company. And so that's how they were able to file for bankruptcy. And Canada is known for mids, especially with all those bread and butter puppets, Dr. Mark. They used to come and bring all that Canadian boof down back in the days before any of this heyday. You have any thoughts on this?
Somebody will buy their location. I mean, their locations and their grows and their dispensaries, somebody will buy them, and they'll end up being adult use recreational shops in there. So it's just going to make the playing field a little bit level because it's basically going to eject the MSO. And, Curaleaf recently left Vermont, and now my friends Noah and Ari Fishman from the Zen Barn, who bought Kind Bill to Vermont, they're facility up there. So yeah, I think we need to put the cannabis production facilities in the holders of people who actually live in the state and not people from Toronto.
Southern Vermont grown says in the chat, it says true story, sad. Vermont has always had some of the top shelf cannabis. Bring back the 90s.
We're the Humboldt to the east, man. I'm telling you.
I believe that. It's the Green Mountain State.
People that have been growing up in the Northeast Kingdom since they put down their protest signs from the Vietnam War. So the place has always been known for growing high quality herb.
And Vermont Alternative out there, who needs to be doing a cattle roundup on all these customers, says that Sears weed was trash that smelled like hay.
Shout out to VA, man.
Yeah,
good
man. Yes. Man. Oh man. And the Cole memo, I'm sorry I missed your super chat. I'm not sure what it said, but if you do type it in, I'm more than happy to read it. I do apologize that we missed it, but we do thank you for that super chat very, very, very much. Jenny, any final words?
Not for me.
Okay. All right. Jenny's shaking her head. She's about to, you know what I'm saying? She's 36 now. She's all, you know what I'm saying, gassed up. I think you're on mute, Jenny.
I'm not on mute. I need a nap.
Oh, she needs a nap. She needs a nap, Dr. T. Dr. T, you going to prescribe a nap for Jenny Beth?
No, but the Cole memo says Mitch McConnell freezes when his parody gummies kick in.
Oh, man. Shout out to the call memo. Good looking out. Thank you so much for having that, Dr. T. I couldn't find it. I super appreciate that. Yes, and you can get your Parody Gummy at www.parodygummy.com. And on that note, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do all this, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Adam out there in the metaverse, out there holding it down. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Adam, hit the Christmas music for him.
1, 2, 3, 4.